Subscribe to my channel Report Stock.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to take complex information, cut through the clutter, and give you clear, actionable insights. Think of it as your shortcut to being really well-informed, minus the usual data overload. Today, we're diving into Revelation Biosciences, Inc. They're a clinical stage life sciences company. We'll be looking at their mid-2025 financial report and getting an update on their Gemini program, which sounds pretty fascinating. Our mission here is simple. Pull out the most important stuff about their new therapeutic approach and how their finances stack up against their scientific goals. We want to give you the full picture, without making your head spin.
Yeah, and a company like Revelation Biosciences is particularly interesting right now because it's right at that crossroads, where you have this cutting-edge biomedical science hitting the real-world hurdles of development and, maybe most importantly, funding. It's a really dynamic space.
Okay, so let's unpack Revelation Biosciences. Their big idea seems to be rebalancing inflammation to optimize health. That sounds ambitious.
It is ambitious. And how they plan to do it is fascinating. They have this proprietary formulation. It's called Gemini. It's given intravenously, and it uses something called phosphorylated hexacyl disaccharide, or PHAD.
PHAD, right.
And the core concept is to reduce damage from inflammation, but not just by blocking it, by actually reprogramming the innate immune system.
Reprogramming. Okay,
Yeah.
That's different. So it's not just dampening the fire. It's trying to teach the immune system how to react differently in the first place.
Exactly. That's where it gets really interesting. Gemini essentially encourages the innate immune system to respond to stress, think trauma, infection in a less severe way, an attenuated way.
Attenuated.
Yeah, it's about getting a more controlled, sort of optimized response instead of the immune system just going haywire and causing more damage.
That sounds like it could be incredibly versatile. What specific areas are they actually developing Gemini for?
Well, they're looking at several indications. One is as a pre-treatment to prevent or lessen acute kidney injury. That's their Gemini AKI program.
Okay, kidney injury.
Then there's post-surgical infection, the Gemini PSI program, and also infection after severe burns, Gemini PBI. And on top of that, they think it might also work as a treatment to stop or slow down chronic kidney disease progression. That's GME-NICKD.
Wow. Okay, so kidney injury, surgical infections, burns, chronic kidney disease, that's quite a range. Raises a question, though. What's the common thread pulling all these diverse conditions together?
It really boils down to the underlying problem. Uncontrolled inflammation plays a key role in all of them. That's the target.
Right, makes sense. But potential is one thing, data is another. To really gauge this, what do we know from their studies so far? Preclinical, early clinical?
So they run multiple preclinical studies, and those have shown Gemini's therapeutic potential in these target areas. And importantly, they've previously reported positive phase 1 clinical data for the intravenous Gemini treatment.
Positive phase 1. Okay, what were the highlights there?
Well, first off, the primary safety endpoint was met. That's always hurdle number one, absolutely critical. And the results also showed statistically significant pharmacodynamic activity.
Pharmacodynamic activity?
Meaning they saw the biological effects they were hoping for. They observed expected changes in various biomarkers, for example, an upregulation of IL-10.
IL-10, that's an anti-inflammatory signal, right?
Exactly. Seeing that go up suggests the immune system is shifting towards that more controlled, less damaging response they're aiming for.
Got it. And this latest update, the mid-2025 one, what's the big clinical news there?
The major highlight they announced is that they've completed dosing of patients in what they call the PRIME Phase 1b clinical study. This one is specifically looking at Gemini in patients with chronic kidney disease, CKD.
Completing dosing in the Phase 1b CKD study. That's a really critical step forward, moving it along the clinical path.
Absolutely. It's a key milestone for any potential therapy.
Okay, so the science is moving. But like we said, science needs resources. Let's pivot to the financial side. How is Revelation Biosciences looking financially based on these mid-2025 numbers? What's their CAC situation?
Right. So as of June 30, 2025, they reported having $5.2 million in cash and cash equivalents.
$5.2 million? How does that compare to before?
It's down from $6.5 million at the end of December 2024. And the decrease was mainly, cash used for operating activities, running the company, funding the trials.
Standard stuff. So $5.2 million, what does that mean for their runway? How long can they keep the lights on?
Well, based on their current operating plans and projections, they believe that cash is sufficient to fund their operations through December 2025.
Through the end of this year. Okay, that's helpful context. Now, here's where I saw something really interesting financially. The net loss figures. It's like a massive change from last year.
Yes. It's quite striking. So for the 3 months ending June 30, 2025, the net loss was $2.4 million. That works out to about $7.01 loss per share, basic and diluted.
Okay, $2.4 million loss in Q2.
Now compare that to the same 3 months in 2024. Back then, the net loss was $8.4 million.
Wow.
Or a whopping $246.27 per share. So yes, a very, very substantial reduction in net loss year over year.
And the 6-month numbers show the same kind of trend.
They do. For the first half of 2025, the net loss was $4.5 million, or $13.60 per share. Compare that to the first half of 2024, $11.1 million loss, or $390.02 per share. Again, a big improvement.
That is a huge shift. What's behind that? What was the main driver for cutting the loss so significantly?
Well, looking closely at the statement, a significant factor seems to be changes in lines like other income expense, net, and the change in fair value of warrant liability.
Ah, okay. So non-operating items played a big role.
It appears so. For instance, in Q2 2025, that other income line was slightly positive, about $15,000.
Yeah.
In Q2 2024, it was a negative $5.87 million expense, largely due to warrant liability changes back then.
Gotcha. So while the bottom line net loss looks way better, it wasn't just operational savings, but also these financial line items flipping.
Exactly. And another key piece of context here, a corporate highlight, was that they raised $4 million in gross proceeds from a public offering back in May 2025.
Right, which would bolster the cash position we talked about earlier. Okay, so important context for that improved net loss number.
Definitely. You have to look at all the pieces.
So what's the view from the top? What did the CEO, James Rolke, have to say about these results and what's next?
He said, and I'm quoting roughly here, that the Revelation team is continuing to strategically maximize its financial resources. Basically, making the money last to hit their goals and advance the Gemini program.
Makes sense.
He also mentioned looking forward to announcing the data from that Phase 1b CKD study later this quarter, so sometime in Q3 2025, and then engaging with the FDA later this year to talk about next steps for Gemini's clinical development.
Okay, so connecting all these dots for you, our listener, what are the really crucial takeaways from this deep dive into Revelation Biosciences?
I think if you synthesize it all, Revelation Biosciences is actively pushing its Gemini program forward. It's based on a really novel idea. Reprogramming inflammation, not just blocking it. They've hit some key clinical milestones, particularly finishing the dosing in that CKD study.
Right.
That's tangible progress.
Right.
Financially, they've shown a big improvement in net loss, which is good to see, although, as we discussed, there's nuance there. But managing that cash runway, making the $5.2 million last, remains, the central challenge, as it is for most clinical stage companies.
It really highlights that classic biotech balancing act.
Absolutely. Science versus resources.
Which brings up something important. The press release includes those forward-looking statements. They're standard boilerplate, sure, but they really do underscore the inherent risks and uncertainties in this business, don't they?
Oh, they absolutely do. They're a necessary reality check. They remind everyone about the significant risks involved. Things like, can they actually meet their financial targets? Can they keep the funding going? Will the clinical studies ultimately be successful? Drug development is tough.
Yeah.
And navigating the regulatory approvals, that's a whole separate mountain to climb. Plus, the risk of unexpected side effects or safety issues cropping up later.
It's a minefield.
It really just hammers home that bringing a new therapy from the lab to patients is an incredibly complex, long, expensive, and multifaceted journey. There are no guarantees.
So we've taken quite a journey ourselves today, looking into Revelation Biosciences, their Gemini program's potential, and their current financial footing.
Yeah, and perhaps something to leave you thinking about is this constant, delicate interplay. You have the cutting-edge science, which is exciting. The really demanding process of clinical trials, proving it works and is safe. And layered over all that are the hard practicalities of financial management, of keeping the company funded. It really shapes the whole landscape of future medicine. And it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it, what fascinating new funding models, or maybe even different regulatory pathways, might pop up to help accelerate these crucial developments. Something to ponder.
Subscribe to my channel Report Stock.